Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto, and joining me, as always, is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, welcome to the show.
Always glad to be here with you, man. Another week talking wrestling.
And what a week it's been, right? We had Against All Odds on Friday, Clash at the Castle Saturday, the debut of the Wyatt faction, the 6-6 or whatever we're calling them. And then, of course, the news that just happened about an hour ago on NXT, which we'll get to near the end of the show. And I think it's still happening in real time. But it's been a couple days of wrestling, that's for sure. Obviously, Against the Odds was this weekend. The big headline coming out of the show was, of course, the return of Jeff Hardy to the company. He debuted at the end of the show, following Matt Hardy losing to Moose in a TNA World Championship match. He came out with a chair and what I found to be quite shocking, but his old WWE theme that he used a little bit in AEW. That was truly unexpected, and I was a bit floored by that because I didn't think the Hardys owned the rights to that, but I guess they do, which isn't that surprising. WWE doesn't own all of their musical libraries anymore. That one has been free and clear for at least a decade or so, because I remember they were playing it on A&E or TLC or something like that as bumper music, like, will the American Pickers find anything today? And you're like, oh, this is an interesting choice of bumper music. So clearly, it's not WWE specific anymore. So I'm not that surprised, but still, I thought we were going to hear "Modest," which was Jeff Hardy's theme for most of his 2 runs in the company. Now that he's back in the throes, however, things are going to get interesting. Marcus, we're going to get to the Jeff Hardy of it all, but do you want to run through the results real quickly, and if there's anything that stands out, I want you to just hop in and comment on them as we're going through.
Gotcha.
Um, Firstly, I got to talk about the pre-show. Sami Callihan defeated John Gresham in about 2 minutes, thanks to Kishida's return following the prior incident with Gresham and his octopus-like alter ego. I don't think they're doing Gresham right. I don't think they're doing Gresham wrong. I think there's a lot of 50-50 booking, and I think they're trying to prioritize, at least on pay-per-views, trying to get people to pay attention to the product and maybe purchase it. This is old Sunday Night Heat tactics where you would get like 2 guys good enough to be on the pay-per-view but not on the pay-per-view headlining the event. Headlining Sunday Night Heat. And I feel like that's what Callahan and Gresham was. It was short so that you didn't get a lot from it, but it was also, I think, done more to help push the feud between Gresham and Kushida, which I think could be a very big banger feud. Gresham, though, should very much be in the title scene by Slammiversary. I don't want him to be spinning his wheels on this. I like this new gimmick, and I like the new mask, and I like all the things he's doing. I don't want this to be a standard affair for him, though. Any thoughts on the Gresh Callahan matchup?
No, agreed. I didn't know it would go that fast, but like you said, the larger booking behind it was the narrative between him and Kushida, which hopefully they fully pull the trigger on and let them have a banger. But I'm right with you. I mean, it feels like we've been calling for this regression since he first joined the company. And, I would imagine he's had a lot of input with this new incarnation that he's doing. So at least it's showing that they're working with him. And right with you, man. I hope that he needs to be in the title picture. Like guys like Gresham, Bailey, they need to be consistently around the title picture. Callahan, if he continues to, I guess, mold himself into a version of what we knew when he was champion. Uh, but yeah, we got to get Gresham in there because what you don't want to do is undercut this gimmick and just make it something mild. When having the talent of somebody like Gresham, so you want to see it wasted.
What I will say is, at least from a year ago to now, I do think TNA is in a much better place roster wise. And I feel like Gresham could be a victim of a not a bloated roster, but a severely infused roster because you got Callahan returned, Gresham's new gimmick, and this is just like the last 2 or 3 months. Santana's back. Then you have Ryan and Nick Nemeth. Joe Hendry's exploding. Mustafa Ali is starting to really gain traction. I like the pairing with him and Champagne Singh. I think that's really good. Josh Alexander's back from injury. Alexander Hammerstone's currently out with injury, but should be back soon enough. Matt and Jeff Hardy are back in the company. You still have Eddie Edwards. Like, this is a very, very impressive roster. It's among the most impressive it's been in some time. Now, is it beat for beat, move for move, or as that meme rapper, bar for bar? He stole my whole flow. Is it as good bar for bar, move for move, talent for talent as 2 years ago? Maybe no, but I've long said that I'd rather see better characters than better in ring workers because we've hit a point with in ring work where it's we're the best of maybe 10 years ago, even if they're not even 40 yet, are not on the par of some of the guys today, which tells you how good the in ring product is. So you don't need a slew of Kyle Fletchers and Will Ospreys and Swerve Stricklands. You need characters to stand out. Characters sell wrestling. Characters sell everything. Sex doesn't sell, personalities do. Which is why people revert to sex, because they don't have a personality. It's why people revert to violence, because they don't have personalities. It's why people revert to just a prank, bro, because they don't have a personality. There are people who make millions of dollars a year talking at a camera on YouTube because they have a personality. Pro wrestling needs to remember that personalities are king, forever and always. It's why Hulk Hogan was huge. It's why Ric Flair was huge. It's why, despite AJ Styles being one of the best workers of all time, he was never on that level because he never had that personality. It's why Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, well into their late 40s, could be headlining acts because they have personalities. And I feel like TNA is finally waking up to that because this is a very heavy product right now with personality, and I feel like they have the guys who not only can work, but can talk, and that's important.
Yeah, that's saying a lot because you've essentially been calling for that for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. I mean, look no further than the system at that. You got interest. I mean, obviously Eddie's always had his personality. We've seen that character go through so many ups and downs, following his world title run with the evolution of him and the kendo stick. But then now you got Alicia finally got some gold on her, and she's killing it. Then Moose is in the position. Ironically enough, this almost feels like a weird amalgamation of what we was kind of calling for with Moose for him to kind of lead in a way, not obviously directly what we talked about, but I think it's turned out quite well. It's been a while since they've had a faction on there that had all the gold, or most of it, I should say. So, but yeah, it's cool. There was a time where the only personality that really stood out on the show, hell, was Rosemary. So, you know, how's there be a change?
So, with that and said, we have the Alicia Edwards and Masha Slamovich match. They defeated the Hex. Nothing really stood out about this match, but they have a name, and I love it. Masha Slamovich and Alicia Edwards are the Militia, but it's spelled like Masha and then Alicia. So it's Malisha, and I'm like, that is a great nickname. That is a great tag team name. And while I really want Masha and Killer Kelly to come back, I'm enjoying the Militia for right now.
Hey, I'm never gonna root against Lilish. I think she's been working hard for a long time and playing the kind of the back row. Obviously, one wouldn't have no complaints working with her husband the way that she does. But now I think she's been putting in a lot of work on and off camera to really do some solid stuff. And the fact that they, have enough faith and confidence in her to put her with somebody as talented and vicious as Masha, and then put the titles on them and go forward with this, I think is great. We would just have honestly, and this is never want to root against Rosemary, but we wanted them to get away from that version of the cave for so long. So can't complain about this, and I will never complaining. I know neither will you complain about Marty Bell being on screen.
Oh no, I enjoy Marty Bell maybe more than I should admit out loud. She's a very I I want the best for
Yeah,
her. That's
yep,
all
there
I'll
it
say.
is.
What I will say also about the militia of it all, especially with Alicia, I do think TNA can build up a tag team division with her as a focal point character, whether it's with Masha, whether it's with Masha and Killer Kelly, what because they could call themselves the Killer Militia, right? You can do a trios women's group, a Freebird rule, if you will. But I think Alicia has proven herself enough as a personality, as a character, that you can have her centerfold in the Knockout Tag Team division for a while to come. So I want to see more of that. Speaking of
Yeah,
tag teams, I'm done seeing though. If I don't have to see Steve Macklin's tag anymore, I'm good. Of all the names I talked about, Steve Macklin was not one of them.
yeah. For those listening at this point, Steve Macklin is Tad Tai Chi. Uh, like if there's a tweet positively about um Macklin on Twitter, Chad shows up like Batman. It just goes away with it.
Now
It's
listen, you're
hilarious.
not wrong. I'm not going to say you're right, but you're not wrong.
Uh,
Just so we're clear. You're
I
not
gotta
wrong,
root
but
for
you're
the
just
guy.
not right.
I gotta root for the guy and the fact that they paired him with Santana against the Rascals. This was a good kickoff here. I think they could have went longer. I think, obviously, but you had some time deviated for other matches in the show, obviously. But I thought this was some solid stuff from enemies to tag partners. So, that was interesting.
So, solid tag match, right? All around. Nothing spectacular, but a solid way to introduce the show. PCO defeats Rich Swan. Out comes, what's your name? Matt Cardona's lady, Steph Delander. And she says, we, to a date with PCO. Clearly, they're building up to something at Slammiversary. What that is anyone's guess. We'll have to find out later. The system retained in a solid tag team match against the Nemeth brothers, Nick and Ryan Nemeth, to retain the TNA World Tag Team titles after Dirty Dango joined up with the group. There was some shenaniganry involved, and I feel like the whole Dirty Dango things was to try to keep the Nemeths from looking weak. But Ryan Nemeth has all the. This is a great 1-to-1. Dolph Ziggler is to Kurt Angle what Ryan Nemeth is to Eric Angle. I don't know if you remember Eric Angle.
Eric ain't keep thinking every time you're trying to remotely compare something family related to Kurt Angle, all I can think about is the Frank trick.
So, not totally wrong. Eric Angle, in 2003, they were doing a gimmick. I think it was 2003. It might have been 2002. I think it was 2003. They were doing a gimmick where Kurt was constantly switching places with his brother. So, like, he'd roll out of the ring and the Big Show would beat up Eric Angle, and then, Eric would, dip out to the floor. Maybe it was 2001. I think it was 2003. I can't remember. Maybe it was both. And then Kurt would come in and beat up, whoever and get the win. And everyone's like, that's Kurt's brother, Eric Angle. And it got to a point where Eric was actually in developmental for a while. But he never did anything. And I feel like that is exactly who Ryan Nemeth is. Like, he is Nick's brother. And neither man is young. I think they're both older than me. I'm 37. Jesus Christ, I said that out loud, didn't I? Oh, that one hurt. But I think they're both older than me. And Ryan Nemeth has done dick all in his career. And I don't know what the trajectory is for him. I don't know if he's any good. I haven't seen enough of him. But he's already doing tag team title matches, so that has to make me think that he's getting a push because of who his brother is. And listen, that's not the worst thing in the world if Nick Nemeth can help bring eyes to your product, but I don't think Ryan Evans is going to do that, and I don't think this match needed to be protected with the addition of Dirty Dango to the system. Now, is Dirty Dango a member of the system full time? I don't know. Maybe Dirty Dango's just trying to get back at Nick Nemeth from some type of WWE bias during his Fandango days. I don't know. Gotta tune in to find out, apparently. We then had Frankie Kazarian defeat Joe Hendry by hook and by crook to win a match. A lot of people were like really upset. They're like, I can't believe like in 2024 Joe Hendry's losing to Frankie Kazarian, and like the same person who said that was more than likely pretty excited about Joe Hendry being in the Battle Royal tonight, which is ironic because I think of the two companies that used him in the last like 4 days, TNA still used him quite well considering he was winning a match against Kazarian and Kazarian had to cheat to win, setting up a longer feud that branched over to another promotion while the other promotion just kind of shat on him. So, there's that. Then we had Mustafa Ali defeating Trent Seven by submission. There was some shenaniganry at the start, but poor audio issues prevented us from really hearing what was going on. I'm sure we'll further explore that here. I like what they're building to that Mustafa has issues with speedball, and they're banning speedball. That's a name I forgot to mention. They're banning speedball from the company for the moment, at least for the building, and they're building up to a Slammiversary match more than likely between the two of them. Marcus, so far through the show, is there anything that caught your eye that you wanted to further explore on?
Well, first off, it's hilarious for us having, you know, long history routine that we do that people are complaining about a very game Kazarian who was what 40 something at this point.
Yeah.
Very much still game. I'm talking about still when a match calls for still pulling out flux capacity. So let's not, he is a TNA legend, yet to be crowned into the Hall of Fame or what have you. But yeah, I wouldn't undercut Kazarian and what he can still bring to the table. I get it because Joe Hendry has that momentum. I would imagine fans want to see the company capitalize off that specific whatever thing we've seen him, booming with the music or whatever. But I think they see what everybody else sees, and Joe is just kind of just rounding it out. Hopefully Kazarian gets to come up, and because obviously I think more of that stuff with Kaz continued what we've seen in NXT tonight. But yeah, other than that, it is interesting what they're doing with Mustafa because I think when he first got the title, we weren't sure. He was coming off some hype, some real good indie momentum, but we didn't sure how it would go translate. I think we both kind of warmed up to what this has become because they've committed to what he's been doing. And everybody's kind of caught up on board. So hopefully this does eventually end with a Mike Bailey win. Even if we've been calling for him to be in the world title, seeing him getting back to the X Division as champion wouldn't be the worst thing.
I would be all right with Mustafa holding off Mike Bailey because Bailey needs to resign before I want another belt on. Let's be honest about that.
Oh, gotcha. That thing again. Okay.
But I think of the two names, I think Hendry and Alexander, if he's healthy. Hammerstone, I mean. Alexander Hammerstone. I think Hammerstone, Speedball, and Hendry should be in the main event scene around Bound for Glory. Whether Moose is involved or not is really irrelevant. I think it's time to move those three up and start letting them headline. And I think you start doing the same thing with Bay and Ace Austin with a focus on next year. I think that's what you do, unless they have grander plans for someone like Santana. As far as someone like Callahan, he needs to lose weight. Like, he's not the same performer he was. I know he shattered his leg. Like, it's not an easy injury to come back from. But he's regressed as a performer. If he hadn't, I'd be fine with it. But, like, he's a name, not a talent right now, and there's a stark difference there. I think Santana needs to build himself up before we can really say safely that he's a world title contender. But I think right now you should be looking at Hendry, Hammerstone, and Speedball at Bound for Glory in some capacity for the world title. And I think what you do, if you're lucky, because let's be honest, you need a little luck here. If you're lucky and you can get Ricochet, I think that would be a great get for TNA, especially for the X Division. I think he would breathe so much life into that division right now. Not that it's bad by any means. I do like what Ali is doing as a character. It's some of the best character work in a while. But I think Ricochet is another level talent. I think he's going to be real good in the X Division. So that's my thought.
I'm glad you called that because that is something that I want because I'm a fan of Ricochet. You know, caught up to him a little late on his indie stuff. Then once I saw him, started watching a lot of it, obviously PWG and all that stuff. But obviously got really acclimated to him as Prince Puma Ulti on Lucha Underground, and then I think he had a good time in NXT, and then he's had a kind of up and down thing on the main roster. So I think seeing value in yourself, kind of cutting bait, getting gone, and seeing that he could do more and he could definitely get more done in TNA because much like Trinity did, he would be viewed as a top prospect and probably put into a far more better position consistently than he ever was in WWE. So hopefully that is a place he chooses. Obviously, we know where everybody and their mom on X be wanting people to go. But we know better that certain people just won't work everywhere just because they can go to a certain place. So I think he's right on the money with that. He's thriving really either. I mean, obviously we talk about personalities. He doesn't always known for that. So if they put him in the exhibition, it'd be great. If they try to put him in the main event, maybe this the shot that he needs to show that he could potentially be more. So we'll see. But I just think he'd be a great get in general. And obviously, getting him and re-signing somebody like Bailey is the intelligent business move to do.
I agree. I agree completely. The last few matches saw ABC defeat Eric Young and Josh Alexander. I don't think we're going to a Team Canada reunion, especially without Scott D'Amore around. The moment of the night that really pissed me off, Jordan Grace defeated Tatum Paxley, who is some lower card jobber on NXT, who's getting a slight push and a spot on pay-per-view that, to be fair, she doesn't deserve. And I'm a little bit miffed about it, not gonna lie. Not gonna lie at all. I think it was a weak moment for the division, and I think it's a spit in the face, I think, for the WWE. I thought it was problematic putting your best worker in your women's division against the women who aren't good enough to compete on Raw and SmackDown. I already thought that was a slap in the face. Roxanne Perez kind of got a pass because she's kind of been going in between, but even she's not been producing the bangers that Jordan Grace's ilk demands you do. And Grace still had to put her over relatively cleanly, too, which was bothersome. And then Tatum Paxley, who no one knows, she got zero reaction. Took a spot from a TNA knockout who deserved a spot. I think it's stupid. I hated it. The match wasn't good. It was fine. It was a TV caliber match because Tatum Paxley's not exactly a great worker. Like she's trying. She's not bad. She's been doing this for less than 2 years. Like she debuted in February 15th of 2022 after training for about 7 months. So, like, this is a problem. And we're going to further talk about it when we get to the Joe Hendry of it all, because NXT is treating TNA like they don't matter. Say whatever you want about AEW's relationship with TNA, at least AEW fucking tried. It didn't succeed, but they were giving TNA, Christopher Daniels, who not a big name in AEW, but was a significant name to TNA. They were giving him Kenny Omega. They were giving them pretty significant. Tony Khan showed up on TV, on TNA. So clearly, even though I don't think it worked well, they still gave TNA far more than NXT is. NXT is letting TNA know that they are under them, and that is very clear. This is a bad deal. This is a bad partnership. TNA never should have done it, and it's only going to get worse. And we're going to talk about worse here in a few minutes. Main event time, though. Moose defeats Broken Matt. Jeff Hardy returns post-match. The big heroes of the night, the Hardy Boys, the Nemeth Brothers, and Joe Hendry, and Rebby Hardy, of all people, stand tall to close the show. Hate the NXT of it all. Really good event. Really happy I watched it. I'm really excited for the next set of shows. But Jeff Hardy's the big get. He is 46. He's not exactly a young man anymore. But he seems to be in the right frame of mind. He did an interview with Chris Van Vliet recently. I think it was Chris Van Vliet, where he basically talked about how he knows he needs to rebuild himself going forward, and how he knows that he needs to do things differently to really get himself back to where he believes he should be. And I think even though he's 46 and shouldn't be doing the dumb shit that he's done before in his career, I do think he's still viable. Like that twist of fate was fantastic. He looks in phenomenal shape. And if he's sober and healthy, TNA got themselves a get because the crowd still popped for Jeff Hardy. And I think there's a few more years of high quality work rate still in him. I don't think he's going to be 5-star in matches, but I don't think he ever really did. But I think he can still do some stuff as long as he doesn't do stupid stuff to inter his development in the brand. Marcus, how do you feel about Jeff Hardy's return to TNA?
I dig it. I like it. I think it creates far more opportunities of creativity and expansion, and so many different ways. Because look, the broken stuff was just never gonna work anywhere else. It was cute when they tried it. It wasn't go, in WWE. They tried certain instances of it in AEW, but ultimately, where it was birthed is where it thrives at. And now, to your point about how great the roster is filled out in terms of names and personalities, now that broken universe could be a compliment and not the whole meal. So, I think it's great. Like you said, he looked great, very twisted fate and all that. And you really like he's that person that you find yourself kind of always shaking your head, but like thumbs up and the chin on at the same time. Because as talented as he is, at times Jeff kind of become that person that you always see at the family cookout that's always telling you they're gonna get off whatever substance they want. And it's like, you telling me that since I was 10, I'm 30. Come on. So it's like, I always feel like in a lot of ways he's having to go back to square one and start over, but he's always somebody that kind of gets you behind him when he is doing all the right stuff. So, I think him being always obviously back around his family and doing the broken stuff, like I said, because he can go in between that, brother Nero, straight up and down Jeff Hardy, or like we've been calling for some time, Willow. So it's just a lot of opportunities, like you said, depending on what he want to do. Hopefully, he doesn't go overboard with the craziness, because at this point, like he looks great. So it's kind of like what they did in what there was Rocky Balboa when Apollo's old trainer like, look, you ain't got no cartilage, you ain't got no what you call it, you can't lift this, you can't scoop that, but we got to build some hurting ball. So that's what he kind of got to do and keep it limited. And we might see a version of him kind of like how we saw with Angle towards the end of his run, where he was legitimately just doing angle slams, ankle locks, and Germans. So yeah.
Yeah, that was a rough version of Angle to watch. I agree,
Yeah.
though. I think eventually what we're going to do after Slam Versus, we're gonna see Willow, because that was something that Jeff did hint at, is like the return of Willow, and that's something he, I think, is really motivated to bring back. I think he knows he can get a long run in his body with Willow, especially with TNA's schedule. I think he can be on TV weekly, have a match or two every taping. One on the main events, the Sunday night show, the Friday night show, whatever it is, and then I have a TV match. And I think you can get 12 or 14 matches out of him without really taxing him too much. And I think I think this is where TNA excels. If you're an older body and you don't want to do far more than you think you can handle, this is the place for you. Speaking of the place for you, though, Marcus, Jordan Grace really, I don't.
It's funny because those
It,
listening, Chad was already pissed off about the NXT TNA thing. Then something popped up in an interview, and I was like, God damn it!
what do you think popped up in an interview? Because I think we're looking at two very different things.
Oh, I sent it to you, and you was like, God, I'm shaking my head for you, bro. Like the pizza thing.
Oh, the pineapple. No, that's
Yeah,
no, Mark. No, Marcus. No, brother. No, brother. No.
it's definitely a con, but not the thing. Oh, gotcha.
Jordan Grace just posted a photo, not a video, a photo of herself, Masha Slamovich, Giselle Shaw, and recent newcomer Sam Laterna. She's the ring announcer or backstage interviewer or something for TNA. She's working with TNA. I don't know in what capacity. I want to say it's a backstage interviewer. So Sam Laterna. She posted a photo of the four of them in Costa Rica, buck ass naked, with their bits showing off over a valley as the sun sets. I've retweeted it at NerdCorp, NERDCORP. So go ahead, Marcus. Is this you?
Holy hell.
Did you just retweet what I just retweeted?
No, I retweeted the link for the show. I don't know if I. Oh, okay. Let me see what I'm looking at here. Uh, I'm kind of old. I'm old man, and it's okay. So we got Jordan obviously because she's the incredible Hulk S,
That's
and
Masha
then
next to her. Giselle's the tall one, and then by default that's Sam Laterna.
yeah, I'm not even gonna go where I was gonna go in my mind with a certain thing, but
All I'm gonna
interest.
say to you, Marcus, is likes are no longer public.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Well, hold up. Can't you go to people's like though?
Not anymore. I do not think they show up. Apparently, Elon Musk got busted watching some not safe for work videos on his YouTube, and so he
Oh no, it's just posts, replies, and media now.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can only see your own likes. Okay, that because I remember you remember when Devon got busted.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious. Um, okay, your likes are private on you can see them. Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're, I did not see that coming. Uh, but yeah, I mean that's kind of that's almost held off for Jordan because obviously she has OnlyFans. But okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's been an interesting night. Speaking of which, everyone who watched NXT and WWE thought, "Oh, TNA is getting bought. They don't have any summer shows. They're being bought. Oh no, they don't have any summer shows. They're being bought." So as TNA released their schedule for their summer shows, and it should be an exciting row. Starting, of course, this past weekend they were in Chicago for Against All Odds. Then they are going to be in Philadelphia at the 2300 Arena at the end of June. July, they're going to be in Montreal, Quebec, Canada for Slammiversary and a set of tapings. Then they're going to be in Tampa, Florida. I think this is both a TV show and a TNA Plus tapings. Let me see if I can find it. I just had it. One second. So it's going to be. They announced all the shows. They had them on the broadcast, but they don't have them here in the posting. Um, Bound for Glory is going to be in October, obviously. Let me see if I can find. There we go. So
Do we know where?
Slammiversary, yeah, no, not yet. Slammiversary's in on July 20th, and then two TV tapings. Then they're going to be in Florida on the 2nd and 3rd for TV tapings. Then they're going to have Emergence, which is their Friday event, August 30th, and then TV tapings the next night. Then they're going to have Victory Road September 13th in Cleveland. Hi. I will be there. And then they're going to have a set of tapings the next night. And then they're going to have... that's it for the summer. So...
That's
no more specials until Slammiversary, and then we're going to get a special, more than likely not until August with Emergence. So we're not going to get anything more between now and August, special wise, which is not the worst thing in the world. But then they're going to have a few on the back end of the summer. So I appreciate them focusing on Slammiversary, though, so...
Yeah,
But
it's one
yeah,
of the. I mean, yeah, they got it's one of the big. What they got big four now, right? Slammiversary, Bound for Glory, Hard to Kill, and what else?
they have Slammiversary. Bound for Glory, Hard to Kill, and
Is it against all odds?
no. I'm trying to think of what their pay per view schedule is. Let's see. TNA pay per view schedule. Alright, so Hard to Kill, Rebellion, Slammiversary, Bound for Glory. That's what it is.
What is it?
It's Hard to Kill, Rebellion, Slammiversary, Bound for Glory.
That's it, Rebellion. I'm like what's it? They kept like I know they didn't name another. I know they didn't name a show because I remember they named the new pay-per-views after things associated with the narrative around their product.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, do they have one called Still Ain't Dead? Um. So yeah, that's cool. I'm glad they got everything laid out like that because let the internet tell it. Oh, they're gonna get bought. They don't have anything lined up past August such and such. It looks like thing trouble in paradise. I'm like, that's not how it's coming off. Not how it's coming off. We're gonna get off in this working relationship, but that's not how it's coming off.
Now, if they can do a partnership with Elton John, they can do a show called I'm Still Standing. I think that would be perfect. I think that'd be well worth the partnership. Just to get that
Yeah.
pay-per-view done. But, we'll see what happens. Speaking of pay-per-views, let's talk about Clash of the Castle. Sorry, premium live events. I'm not such a fuddy-duddy that I'm not going to be like, oh no, it's still a pay-per-view. No, it's not. Pay-per-views are pay-per-views. You pay for a single view. I watch the back half of Clash of the Castle on Saturday. I can go rewatch it. I don't need to pay extra to do so.
I love that you made that distinction, by the way, because so many people like this. But like, when did the internet become like defenders of Bully Ray? Like what? Like anytime you can get flustered, cussed, or whatever else, piss off. Like I don't care if it's Bully Ray. Like you said on X, the fact that he's even having takes shows where we're at. So
Still has his fire-breathing Twitter machine. Speaking of Twitter machines, Cody Rhodes defeated AJ Styles to retain the undisputed title in an I Quit match. The unholy union of Alba Fire and Isla Dawn defeated Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill and Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark in a triple threat match to win the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. I know a lot of people are like, Jade Cargill's really good, you need to give her a break and everything like that. And like, what I'll say about Jade is very sincere, and it's very much understood by most people who understand wrestling. Jade is not a very talented wrestler. She's also only been doing this about 3 years. I don't expect her to be a very talented wrestler. But there's a reason why she's in a tag team with one of the better women's wrestlers, Bianca Belair, as opposed to doing this on her own. And it's because they don't trust her to wrestle singles matches. That's not in dispute, and I want people to understand that you can be critical of her and still think that she has potential. No one's saying she doesn't have potential, but she has to prove that she's worth the money. Now, that being said, I don't think any of her tag team matches have been all that great. But that's just me. Sami Zayn defeated Chad Gable and it's just a singles match. Defeated Chad Gable. Bayley defeated Piper Niven to retain the Women's Championship. Sami retained the Intercontinental title over Chad Gable. And then in the main event, the bisexual Damian Priest, the Undertaker wannabe, defeated Drew McIntyre after CM Punk screwed them. Damian Priest is another one I'm not a big fan of, and this match kind of highlighted that issue. He looks very goofy, and him botching with that ankle and the rope, that was hilarious. I will say this. I would be very mad if I had to pay $60 for this event on a pay-per-view, but I very much enjoyed the CM Punk of it all, where he came down, and I knew it was him. They never not show the referee.
Hater of the year.
Hater
like
of the year. Love it.
I'm not even a big Punk guy, but the whole because of how you screwed me, I'm not gonna let you get a moment of peace. I'm gonna F you at every turnpike. Love it.
It's
Got to keep
great.
that same energy. Yeah.
I love it. Came down in his Air Jordan, slid it in the ring, counted two, and then just held up two, even though Priest was unconscious. It was hilarious. Very well done. I enjoyed it.
Now, obviously, I think I'm more of a Priest fan here, but that botch was crazy. Glad he's not seriously injured. But where does that rank with you? Does Titus still hold the record for the holy hell moment with his thing?
I think Damien's is funnier because with the Titus one of it all, it was very shocking, and I even laughed at it. But as time has passed, I really thought he could have died. With how fast
No,
he was running,
absolutely.
he tripped. He wasn't able to protect himself. If he had hit one of the trusks, that like cross section and hold up the ring, he could have broken his neck. And I don't want people to be like, no, he couldn't have. I watched a human being die in the ring in a wrestling match. His name was Piro Goyo. He bounced off the ropes improperly with his neck, and he broke his neck. Now, granted, part of the issue with the ropes is that it bounces back, and that in effect is part of the danger of them, because there's that double snap effect. But you can easily snap your neck falling into something if you're not careful. So like the Titus O'Neil, whoa, what was it, World Slide? To me, is one of those very deep breaths that could have gone very badly. With the Damian Priest of it all, he just botched his spot and looked like a silly ninny, and it made me chuckle. And Drew Galloway or McIntyre, whatever we're calling him these days, did his best to try to get him.
Silly mini.
And then like the referee's like, well, you can't win the belt if he's stuck like that. I'm like, no, that's fair. That's a good thing to say to the crowd. Overall, I think these are really bad shows, like top to bottom. I don't think they're worth people's times. These are glorified house shows. I know everyone's like, well, Cody faced AJ Styles. Yeah, no one thought AJ was going to win. The most impressive thing out of the whole interview, or like the 2 or 3 days they were in Scotland, was AJ Styles having to listen to TNA chants for the first time in a decade. Like that's not great. I don't think we should be like overly excited about that. The Unholy Alliance. I don't even know who Alba Fire. No, that's. She used to be in TNA for a hot moment. Who is that? Kaylee Ray. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn are just. I mean, they're there. They're certainly there,
They got
Marcus.
they got a rare hometown win because we know how WWE likes to screw people in their hometown. I didn't get it. I understand that's the concept of a triple threat, and they didn't pin the champions. Also weird that they were even involved in the match, considering that they got beat the Raw before the show readily, by the way, by Shayna and Zoe Stark. So I don't know what exactly they got planned for Belair and Jade. I don't know if they got them going both for the Money in the Bank qualifying situation, but I just know that the tag titles were far better, uh, in better hands with them because of what they could have did for the straps. But who knows how this is going? I got nothing against Alpha File. Isla is just anytime they talking, I'm like, would y'all please take the golf balls out of your mouth? You're killing me. But yeah, so we'll see. But I just feel bad. I mean, I feel bad for Jade because I always she knew she was gonna get heat for the botch. And to your point, she still got a ways to go. Looks like $1 million. Sometimes wrestles like 500. So it's one of
She
them things.
she she is the wrestling equivalent of the Cybertruck. A lot of money, a lot of issues in the ring. I don't know who she is as a person. I'm sure she's a lovely person. But like this is the crux of the whole booking. Like Chad Gable, like you build him up for the last 4 months as this actual character with potential, and then you just continue to feed him losses when he needs wins, and then you kill him in dumb segments. Like what are we doing? Then like Piper Niven, like Bailey's not, she's not moving the needle. You could have put the belt on Piper Niven, actually make us want to tune in. Like you could have done that, didn't?
Yeah, you got Nia Jax looking dominant. Why you can't do it for Piper? I mean, just, and Chelsea. Not ever excited about her, but she makes the most of every opportunity she's given. The fact that she came back out, like she, if nothing else, I appreciate her commitment to a bit. Because the fact that she came back out there in a damn Rey Mysterio mask after getting ejected, I'm like, okay, this girl, like, you got to give her credit for just going there all the way. But yeah, they got Nia Jax looking down. You can't do the same for Niven, and you're 100% right. And she no longer looks like old girl from uh the Drew Carey show. But she's not moving the needle either. Like Bailey is a worker, but she's not the person I want at this point being the person. I just think she's been the side character for so long. They feel like she's kind of old this. So I don't know who's gonna take the strap off her. Some people allude to they go put the money in the bank when Naomi and then have her turn heel. That might be interesting, but yeah, Bailey's just not doing anything for me.
Bailey's also starting to hit the wall proverbially as a talent. You know, people forget she's 35. Like she's not young. She's not old, but she's not young. You know, as an athlete, you do slow down. You do start to lose, parts of what made you great. And unfortunately for Bailey, she's been running this road, so to speak, for what 12 years with very little time off. Her body's taking injuries. She's no longer, and I don't think she was ever that great of a performer. But she's no longer what she once was. And I feel like people are starting to see that. Like she's not a great promo, not a great character. She was a solid worker. I would say that she was the female version of Christian Cage. Not athletic, but could do what needed to be done to sell a match. But now she's a little bit slower. She doesn't have the same pop. And she doesn't have the same gimmick or personality that would drive you to pay attention to her. You know, once she lost that best friend mentality, like she really just became pretty cut and paste. Like she's a standard women's wrestler now. There's nothing about her that makes me think, oh, that's cool. I'm glad she's here. She's just Bailey now. But Bailey doesn't have a gimmick. She doesn't have a character. She doesn't have a personality. She's just Bailey, and it shows. And it's part of the problem.
Yeah,
That's why I think Piper Niven going over made the most sense.
it would have been like I said, it actually would have been a better decision than what they did with the tag team situation. Because like I said, like we talked about before, regardless to how what Jade's progression is, and also hopefully it's only going to get better. So much that you can hide a cacophony of sins with somebody like Bianca by your side. And I think they were the best thing for those titles. But I think Piper just like she's been picking up some good momentum, and like I said, not the biggest Chelsea fan, but the girl does what she needs to do in the spots that she gets. She is 100% would be a hype woman for Piper, which would only help her, and that would be a far more entertaining thing than Bailey. 'Cause like you said, she preferably hit the wall. It was interesting when she first turned heel, but even that eventually kind of turned born. But now that she's back face, and also that what is that Death Rebel they got, or some type of rebel, Death Rebel,
Something like
that
that.
they using for a lot of these people. That's not helping her. Um, and now that she's separated from that faction, she's just like you said, she's just plain old Bailey. It's almost like they holding off till Charlotte comes back and drops it off.
That might be what they're planning on doing for all we know. So with that said, yeah, pretty ho hum show, but they've all been pretty ho hum. I think that's the thing that people are that they're kind of forgetting, right? Is that this is the attitude era all over again, and that's not a compliment. The attitude era was so popular and so good, at least with producing talent, right? And producing must see TV. that everyone thought that what you were seeing was somehow a great thing because it was so popular, right? But that's just the case. Like, it's not exactly, a great product all the time. It's hot, it's popular, and because it's hot and it's popular, it's starting to move the needle. And you think because it's moving the needle, it's good. But fundamentally, good is subjective. But what we're seeing is very unimpressive, unexciting, simplistic, dull booking. Yes, on one hand, you only have 5 matches, so you can give more time to the matches, the entrances, and all that. That's great, but also what you're doing is you're depriving people of excitement because you're only booking 5 matches. And most of the time, you're booking people into longer programs with their respective titles, so there's not a lot of movement on titles. But yet, people show up to these shows to see title changes, to see the shocks, to see the awes. Apparently, there were fights breaking out after Clash of the Castle Scotland because the Scotlandians, the Scots, wanted to see Drew McIntyre win that badly. And because he lost to the bisexual Undertaker, they weren't happy. And they started fighting. Now, the WWE is under no obligation to give fans specific endings. They have a larger narrative they're trying to tell. They aren't catering to one city. I understand that. I respect that. And this is also why the tandem of Isla Fisher or Isla Fire or Alba Fire or Isla Dawn, that's who it is. That's why they won. To give them something. But when you have so many dynamic, bombastic matches that have to go a certain way, that's why you put on the 6th, 7th, and 8th match, so that you can do this kind of stuff. So that you can give guys more exciting finishes, more shocking finishes, more unexpected finishes. Because the WWE has kind of booked themselves into a corner with Triple H where he's booking for, 2 shows now. He's booking for 3 shows, really. SummerSlam, the Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania. That's what he's booking towards. Those are the build-offs. Those are the payoffs. And listen, that sounds great on paper until you realize that all you're ending up getting then instead is like counting SmackDown and Raw, maybe 100-odd house shows. Because if nothing significant ever happens, then why the fuck should you care? Just this past Monday, we finally got the Wyatt 6 or 6-6 or whatever the fuck we're calling them. But it took them 3 months. Do you know how many fandoms and cities got nothing? Got teased? Eventually people get sick of that and they stop watching. And I feel like that's going to be an issue here in the next 6 months, is that people are going to get sick and tired of this extended, long, unnecessary, drawn-out booking where everything is perpetually drawn out and there's no finish, there's no conclusion. Look at the goddamn bloodline, Marcus. We got Solo can't do a spear Sikoa. We got Tonga Loa. We have 2 tall Tonga coming in.
Heck a hell no.
Heck a hell no. The only one who's worth a damn is Tama Tonga. The other one who's worth a damn, they're not going to debut because they're afraid that he's so good, he's going to make the ones they have look bad. And if that is the issue at hand, then it's never going to be good. Marcus, could you imagine? You get Victor Wembanyama, but you don't start him because you don't want the other players on your team to not feel good. Oh no, we can't start the rookie. He's gonna make everyone look stupid and bad. Well, listen, if he's gonna make everyone look stupid and bad, it's because everyone around him is in fact stupid and bad. And instead of adjusting on the fly, developing a better story, producing Jacob Fatu in a way that maybe, I don't know, could actually rival Roman Reigns, we're instead going to go into but I want Solo Sikoa, so I'm going to book Solo Sikoa because I don't care about, what the fans want. I care about what I want. All right, well, that's cool, Paul. Listen, that's up to you, but that's why people started to hate this company during Vince's tenure. Because that's exactly the bullshit he did. And now we're getting more bullshit. It's more bullshit. I don't need you to reinvent the wheel. I just need you to make a functioning tire. Like, it's not a complicated goddamn procedure. And I feel like the WWE with these piddly ass shows that I've watched 3 of them since WrestleMania, and nothing's happened. I've seen nothing happen. I know you love Damian Priest, Marcus. God bless. I know you do, and I don't like poking holes in guys you like, because that's not who
good.
I am. That's not what I wanted. Damian Priest is the other side of Billy Butcher's asshole. There's nothing about him that is redeeming. He can't cut promos. He looks like a dork. His attire makes me think he's a cosplayer. He's not a great worker. The dude does dives over the top rope like a concussed Jeff Hardy. What are we doing here? This belt had no value while Seth was holding it, and he was the number 3 guy in the company. And now you have the number 48 guy in the company, and I'm just sitting here thinking, Jesus Christ, this is like you're putting out the best quarterback list, and you put Aaron Rodgers in the top 5 over C.J. Stroud. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. By the way, check out my writing. Just Google my name. Toros Times. You can check that out. Write about that today. But like, you can do that all you want. You can tell me Damian Priest is a world champion. You can sit here and go, he's a world champion. He's the number 2 guy in the company behind Cody Rhodes. I don't believe you, sir. I don't think that's true.
I don't know you, and I ain't buying it.
Right? Like, I ain't buying it. It's like a bad baby book at a hospital. I ain't buying it. Damian Priest is devaluing that title. You can put him in all the main events you want. We know that doesn't work. Jinder Mahal's not selling out 20,000 seat venues. He's not. Sorry, brother. Brother EU, no. He ain't. We know when guys are over. Triple H should know when guys are over. But WWE has their heads so far up their asses with their current booking, they think they can't do wrong. Just like Vince Russo thought that in 1998 and 1999. But it turns out if you go back to rewatch most of 1998 and 1999 by modern standards, they are unwatchable wrecks of wrestling production. Not as bad as WCW in 2000. That is a whole nother level of suck. But it's not good, and people will soon wake up to the very boring ass shows that they're getting.
Yeah, it's and over and under for you. How are you tired of the crowds by now? It's just something.
I mean, I like the crowds to an extent, right? You know, they're fine. They are very overly excited for very little.
Yeah.
It's like throwing like bread. It's like being in France and throwing some bread during the 1800s, right? Like let them eat cake. That's kind of what this feels like. It feels like they get so little that any little sniff of wrestling that they get, they're gonna watch. It's not encouraging that they think bad entertainment or long drawn out boring ass shows with only 5 matches but nothing happening at all on them is great content for them to engage with. But you know what? God bless them. God bless them. I'm just tired of seeing things like The Rock's daughter trying to be a GM in NXT when she has the charisma of The Rock in 1996, but none of the talent that he had in 2006. But this is WWE booking. And we're about to talk about WWE booking because Joe Hendry was a victim of WWE booking just tonight. The man had they brought out a bunch of guys. Dragon Lee, Frankie Kazarian, Ethan Page, hey. Marcus, when Joe Hendry came out for this dumbass NXT Battle Royal, it was so loud and deafening, the speakers blew out on the production, and the cameras involuntarily shook. Now, I don't want Joe Hendry to win a NXT Battle Royal. I want him to stay the fuck away from NXT as much as possible, mostly because I don't trust their booking. That being said, I do think there's a simple compromise. Joe Hendry makes it to the final 3, gets eliminated by whatever the last 2 guys you want to focus on, Ethan Page and whoever. Cool. Maybe he's about to win. Frank Kazarian, does a Hulk Hogan 1990 Royal Rumble spot, where he grabs Hendry by the wrist and yanks him out of the battle royal. Great, fantastic. Instead, the entire NXT locker room and Frankie Kazarian beat him up, and Frankie Kazarian just dumps him out within like 30 seconds. This dude, more than likely, Joe Hendry is going to be in the main event at Slammiversary against Moose. Unless there's another angle to the world title scene that I'm not looking at. I don't think it's going to be Nick Nemeth. I don't think it's going to be Jeff Hardy. I think it's going to be Joe Hendry. I think the booking committee in TNA is smart enough to know that Joe Hendry is the it guy, and I think that they're going to give him enough opportunities to get over and get that title, and I think it's going to be a good thing for the company when he does. So for them to basically dump him out like that, not great. And then, but people will be like, well, then he went up to Shawn Michaels and gave him a what for? And I'm like, Shawn Michaels is 60. He looks 60. He moves 60. He has about as much significance in the modern wrestling scope as a character as any other 60-year-old. I am not impressed that Joe Hendry had a moment with Shawn Michaels. This isn't 2008 when Shawn Michaels still had value as a performer. This isn't even 2012. It's not even 2014. The man is 58 years old. He looks like a hobo. And his booking is about as inspired as the latest Slipknot album. That's an unfair shot to Slipknot. The latest Drowning Pool album. And I'm supposed to be impressed with it. I don't know, Marcus. Maybe I'm a fuddy-duddy. Maybe I don't know what taste is. Or maybe I'm just so goddamn aware of what works and what doesn't. I can sit here and point out something like this and be like, hey, this is dumb. The product's on fire. And it'll succeed because of it. But eventually people will get burned out with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they play into an audience that likes to be well, for the most part, a large part of the audience likes to be habitually gaslit.
I mean, fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Like it's one of those things. And sadly enough, even with the TNA audience, they're just kind of happy for the rub because for the longest, and I think a lot of it has to do TNA's been the butt of so many jokes, the redheaded stepchild, if you will, that them, getting these situations and positions kind of gives them a bit of validation, which ultimately means nothing because you're going back and forth on a social media site that has idiots that are dumb enough to say Samantha Irvin is untalented. So that's a moot point. And then I think with just their core audience in general going to the wide six of it all, the whole wide verse, even going back to the NXT days, the whole concept hasn't lacked for intrigue. It's lacked for long-term vitality. Because how many times they built something up, got some momentum going, then ultimately it went nowhere. They did it with the original Riot crew. Then after they, kind of climaxed with the Shield, that fell off. Bray by himself was catching momentum, but he always started fights he couldn't finish and lost all his feuds. Brought him back, won the title, I think it was an Elimination Chamber, then I don't even remember how that fell off. And then we know the Fiend got put to the ground, so eventually fed to Bill Goldberg. So, they don't lack for intrigue, but long term it never goes anywhere. And I think because WWE is just so fast, the audience is just so fascinated with, ooh, look, this is shiny. It's so shiny. They're doing all the things. Oh my God, they killed Chad Gable. It's one of those things where it's just really easy. They kind of like the Marvel audience, the way like the 10-year credibility that they built up, and then after Endgame they kind of played in their face. It took them a long time to kind of realize like they really don't necessarily know what they're doing, do they? No, they don't. So it's interesting, one of those things. But yeah, hopefully they do pull the trick on Joe Hendry because, like you said, and the sad part is there are some people who didn't get a chance to see him as digital media champion, so they think he's just a song and he can't go. And it's the complete opposite. He got a great song and he can go. So hopefully, to your point, they do eventually send him after Moose, and put the title on, because that that actually would be full circle coming off his digital media thing with Moose. So
Yeah. One last thing before we move on to the Wyatt Six of it all, or Wyatt Sick, or whatever we're calling it. Frankie Kazarian took a photo with Shawn Michaels, and ironically enough, Frankie Kazarian is the only person in the history of wrestling that can say he shared the X Division title with Shawn Michaels' cousin. Michael Shane slash Matt Bentley is I think he's the cousin of Shawn Michaels. And the two of them were co X Division champions in 2003. 21 years ago. I am old. Speaking of old, the Wyatt 6-6, whatever we're calling it, has been going on for about 34 years now. I don't remember when it started. It's like the song that never ends. People started singing it, not knowing what it was, and it went on and on and on and on and on and on because I don't care about this group. I know there's a lot of people who are like super into it because of Bray and listen, I'll save my opinions on Bray for another day because I don't think highly of the man. The stories about him abandoning his children is not something that I think can be overlooked. But we often don't look at the human being side of pro wrestling. We often just look at the character. Oh, he was a great character, so I'm very sad. I don't like that he's left. I think it's 4 children, fatherless. That's not great. But as a performer, I was never a fan, and so I have next to no desire to see what should have been his group, had he not sadly passed away. Um, I don't really see anything with this group that makes me think to myself, "Oh, I got to see this." I like Joe Gacy to an extent, and Eric Rowan, solid. But Bo was never really anything. Sam Shaw is fine, and Nikki Cross is the other one. The only
yeah.
Scottish wrestler who didn't have a role in the Scotland show.
Mm.
That had to hurt for her. Marcus, how are you feeling about this Wyatt 666 or whatever the hell we're calling it?
Gonna come up with a word describing this, but I'm gonna lean back and kind of remain cautiously mid optimistic. Um, and the fact of like it kind of reminds me, and not to do like a one-to-one death thing, but there's some similarities. Well, what they I guess had intentions on doing with the Dark Order when we lost John Huber in AEW,
Mm-hmm.
aka Luke Harper. Where the faction after that kind of was supposed to be a more larger, consistent tribute to the downfallen person. And in a lot of instances, that's what I'm guessing this is from an intent standpoint. And then we haven't seen Bo since they literally told him to Bo leave in NXT and he left. And I think he may have did some stuff on the main roster, but he hasn't been consistently anything. So Joe Gacy is an interesting one. Nikki Cross is an interesting one. Eric Rowan. These guys have an intrigue about them. I didn't even know Sam Shaw was a part of it, but he's another one that could very much be got into that creepy. So we know how good he is in those scenarios. But it's one of them things you kind of called it on Twitter where you was like you got a bunch of guys who didn't matter by themselves kind of come together. The best thing they can do is keep them under wraps because
Yeah.
you know yeah you don't want to like you remember when the what's the name of the damn faction when Nexus kept the mask on, at least then they kind of had mild intrigue. Then we had to be introduced to them, and ultimately that didn't lead to really anything because Wade was supposed to be the personality of the bunch. But yeah, the best thing they could do here is keep them masked, keep them uh, intriguing from I guess a violence perspective. I don't know if you could do what they did at the end Raw every week. Uh, wouldn't put it past them, but yeah, I can't really have any expectations because of how you know can only go by what you've shown. And if y'all ran the Fiend into the ground, and obviously that was under a different regime, booking, whatever have you, but I can't have high hopes for it. I get why it's easy for the audience like I said, to be gaslit because the fiend of it all took the audience by storm. But we've seen a lot of stuff kind of in this regard. And I kind of almost thought back to when you were talking about what happened with the Shield 2.0 thing. I was like, can you imagine what would have happened all those years ago if Kane stuck? Like
Yeah.
that would have like Kane stuck and Taker had to carry that on his back for the remainder of his career, being like this big red idiot. Like this, like he looks great, but he's essentially the Shockmaster. So that would have been terrible. So I want these guys to win because at least four of the names. I've never really been a big Bo guy, but I can understand why he wants to do this for in the spirit of his brother. So I want them to win. But again, like you said, it's for as much praise as Triple H is getting. There's a lot of non-phenomenal booking that's going on.
I think there could have been something here, if they had brought in Braun Strowman and maybe found a way to do more with attaching Joe Gacy as the face of this, because Joe Gacy, maybe not a 10 wrestler, right? He was a hardcore guy before he came into WWE. You bring in Joe Gacy to be the mouthpiece, maybe it's like, the disciples of what was his name? The Fiend, the Fiend disciples or something like that. Maybe you could have gotten that over with Joe Gacy bringing in Braun and Eric Rowan to continue on the legacy, and then maybe having Bo Dallas either part of the group or maybe as the antagonist to the group or protagonist to the storyline. But I think this is going to be a very. It's like trying to do the Beatles with four new members. Or just having Ringo as the only member. It's like it's not going to work. People may be excited about it now, but the whole point of this gimmick was to back Bray Wyatt. And whatever I may think of him personally as a person, I do think you cannot have a super team around Bray Wyatt without Bray Wyatt. It's like the 2016 Cavaliers. Yeah, you had Kyrie and Kevin Love, but like that team won because you had LeBron James. That team wouldn't win without LeBron James. And this is the same equivalent. I want these five to do well, especially Sam Shaw. I root for that guy so hard. It's not something that I, necessarily enjoy watching, but like I want to enjoy it. Right? He's a great creepy character. I just don't think it's gonna work. Not without Bray. I don't know how you can do it without Bray. And while a lot of people are over the moon about some of these gimmicks, I don't think you're seeing anything really worthwhile under the reign of Triple H. So I'm not optimistic, is what I'll say.
And to be honest, God, God bless the dead. I don't know how much of this was working when we still had him, because um, you had the Fiend thing, and then I guess the duality with the Uncle Howdy thing. Didn't that culminate in a damn what a two match with L.A. Knight?
I think so.
That
Oh
was
yeah, the
that was
the pitch black match.
yeah, that was overbooked to high hell. So it's like I don't know how much of this was still working when he was still here. I think there was intrigue obviously by the audience because they had him back after a long time, and I think they were just intrigued to see what was the next chapter in this crazy book that he cultivated of ideas. But you can be doing a lot of you could be doing a bunch of stuff in a circle and not really go nowhere. So we'll see. But like I said, much like you, I want these guys to win. It's just where they slot this set, how consistent they keep it, and uh, exactly, I guess, who emerges as the standout. 'Cause we just talked about who the standout of the Shield 2.0 is. It's not even remotely hideable at this point. God bless Paul Heyman for what he's doing, but he clearly, I mean, I would imagine he wants Roman back more than the audience at this point. So,
Oh, you mean
uh,
the Bloodline 2.0?
yeah, the Bloodline. Yeah,
I was gonna
thank
say
you. The
Kurt
Bloodline
Angle
2.0.
was the highlight of Shield 2.0. Like we know
Oh, that is
that.
hilarious. That is hilarious.
We
One
knew
night
that.
Olympic. one night Olympic dog. Yeah, that's hilarious. But yeah, we'll see, man.
So that's all I got for this week's show. Mark, is there any final thoughts?
All for me.
So for Marcus Green, I'm Chad Porter. We're gonna get on out of here. Be sure to check out the website at realnerdcorp.com, realnerdcorp.com. We're on Twitter at NERDCRP. Marcus, you can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, which is also on Twitter or X, at True Penny Show, TruePennyShow. So check them out there. They cover wrestling as well, mostly GLEAT, but other forms of wrestling too, I'm sure. GLEAT's not the only promotion they've covered. You can find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, ChedNerdCRP, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at ChedSphotoHut. Once again, that's the website is realnerdcorp.com, RealNerdCRP.com. So be sure to follow us there. Look out for past shows, new shows coming out every week, right here on twitch.tv/Wrestling Underground. For Marcus Green, I'm Chad Porto. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember to tune in next Tuesday for another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. And for us here, I'll see you guys next week. Marcus, take us home.
Good night.